Hello and welcome to your immediate match reaction as Rangers draw 0-0 with Falkirk in possibly the worst game of football I've ever attended. I've been joined by Hef. It's a funny question here, but how are you, Hef? You alright?
Delighted that I'll be going home pretty soon. That was absolutely atrocious. That's some of the worst football I've ever seen. Never mind just at Ibrox, but amateur stuff that we're getting wrong. But no, it's a pleasure as always to be sitting in a gantry. But could have done without that performance in front of me.
Yeah, we're in a very fortunate position with the podcast that we get to come along and do this fan media stuff. But every one of us up in the gantry today is just fed up of this, to be honest, by the sounds of it. We'll go right back to the start. The team sheet came in, obviously, about 1 o'clock today, and we both saw the news together for the starting lineup. We saw Aarons continue at left back. We saw Asgard continue to play for some bizarre reason. A couple of interesting calls in there, but that's where my excitement for today, if there was ever any, that's what died for me.
Yeah.
I knew what that team was going to do. I knew what I was going to see. Were you the exact same?
Yeah, I thought that when we went in and we looked at the starting team sheet and we had said to some of the other boys in there that there was a few question marks. Was Ant-Man going to start on the right? Was he going to start on the left? We knew that he'd kind of played there for Finland.
Yep.
However, then that means then you're playing Bajrami on the right. So then there was a lot of issues about who was going to play where. And then obviously that overlying question of the quality of the players that we had chosen. JB will be buzzing that Bajrami started. And to be fair, I thought Bajrami, if anything creative was happening, it seemed to be in the first half that it was coming through him.
Yep.
But no, on paper, before the game, when you see that starting lineup, I know that someone had said something about the reason why Gassama wasn't playing was that he had some family circumstances going on. However, then I don't understand bringing him on when we're chasing the game, if that is the case. So therefore, that was kind of null and void. If you're going to start him, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, then why not start him? It just seemed a bit... The decision-making to bring him on, still don't know where Chermiti was in terms of, was he injured? Was it just a selection issue? But yeah, I thought that starting 11 was worrying. And then that was proven to be correct to worry about when we saw the performance in front of us.
Yeah, weirdly not a single left footer other than Majovski up front in that whole team, and I just think the balance of the team is horrible right now. We've got nothing in the wings. The guys in the centre of the pitch aren't doing much either, but again, we'll try and go back to the start here. I did take notes during the game. Very short notes because nothing happened.
Yeah.
But I've got a couple of things to try and call out. Obviously, Ibrox itself, before we even get into the football, Ibrox is very quiet today, and I expected it. It's a cold Sunday in November. It's not going to be a full house against Falkirk, which should on paper be that kind of routine win, but big gaps of empty seats, very quiet stadium. Same as Thursday night, that the fans are needing the players to go and do something. And again, I think it just comes from that lineup. You know what you're going to see. You're going to see the same boring, mundane, negative football. Again, I've got a few notes of what happened early on. We had an Oliver Ant-Man header that went wide. I then have nothing until the 37th minute when we have a penalty claim under Majovski, which I don't think was a penalty anyway.
No.
And other than that, and one run and shot by Rami, I have nothing about the first half to talk about. I think that speaks volumes itself.
Your notes, are more positive than mine. Mine's Asgard unnecessarily pulled down instead of challenging for the ball in 7 minutes. Critical. 10 minutes seemed very susceptible to a counter-attack, and we're losing the ball in the middle of the park. Ant-Man decent run through, but Majovski didn't do anything with it. And then yes, that penalty claim. I thought at the time that it did look like a penalty, just in the live instance, that from where I was, it looked as if he had been pulled down. But then on reflection, it looks more like he's just obviously been as if he's running through tar. And
it's like he's waiting for someone to touch him, and as soon as someone touches him, down,
he just crumbles.
I'm not going to get that.
And then from there, it looked as if from about 37 minutes onwards, there was, if anything, probably the most attractive bit of football that we saw was Bajrami getting through, kind of finding his way through. I wonder if it's maybe saying skip through has been too generous, but he finds his way through and he gets that shot off. And because of the angle where the centre half is kind of forcing him to go, he kind of has to curl it round and try and get in that bottom corner. And he's not that far away.
No.
It kind of just skips by the post. But no, after that, obviously we're then into kind of half-time territory, but we had that 40 minutes, then 42 minutes, there was that chance I was referring to, and then I have not got anything until the 63rd minute.
Yeah, it's as if Barami, I think, had that run before his shot where he got clipped and the boy got booked for it. A good run.
That's right, aye.
Little sort of slalom run. It's as if he was a bit pissed off that he got fouled and then played, with that passion for a few minutes where the rest of them just kind of watched on. And again, I think Barami was probably one of the few that pass marks is a bit extreme, obviously, but he was okay overall today. And
do you not think that's telling? But is that Bajrami was annoyed, right? But actually, there was a ball on. He could have played Asgard, but I actually think in that moment he's thinking, I'm not giving it to Asgard here. I'm actually going to push forward and giving it, because they've not got the confidence in each other that one player can do better than the other. So Bajrami's thinking, I'm going to take the chance here and I'm going to take the foul, because actually giving it to Asgard is probably worse than conceding the foul there and potentially getting a yellow card, because I can't stress enough how little Asgard gives as a footballer.
Yeah. I'm laughing at some of these comments here because it just shows the depths that we're in just now. We've got James saying Cifuentes would be better. Alexandra brought it up a moment ago saying Cortez and Matondo would do a job here. And then Mega here with Asgard, and that's actually Asgard, which I think is quite fair. Hides more than Dowell. These are all facts. Like, these guys are terrible as well. But what we're seeing in front of us, it's just... I was going to come to it later, but we'll jump right ahead. I don't like this squad. I don't like a lot of these players from a footballing point of view. They hide, they shy away from it. They're negative on the ball. They're scared to do anything. We've just come out of Daniel's press conference, who touched on it himself, and it was, I think the question was, is this a mentality thing? Why everyone's so negative and why the ball's always not trying those brave passes? And I don't think he said it was the mentality. He was more talking about...
I thought his answer was good. I thought that the answer that he gave was, he said that it wasn't a mentality issue, it was a scanning issue. So it's all about how players are receiving the ball. So it's not about necessarily that we've not got players who have kind of got their head on a swivel, and as soon as they get the ball, they know where the ball's going. We see it sometimes with some of the more experienced pros. With Raskin, sometimes he gets the ball and he tries to flash it across the park. But 9 times out of 10, it just gets intercepted because either, unless he's playing it to Tav, who is obviously a bit more experienced again and has played with Raskin for a few more years, but he's looking for Raskin to play that ball and he's anticipating it.
Yep. Whereas
the rest of the players, they've not really shown a trademark pass or a place that they're going to be to say, oh, play it to me in that area of the pitch and I'll make sure I'm there. They've not got any confidence on and anticipating where they're going to be. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing and adding loads of jumble on from what Danny Rule had said, but it was basically that it's not so much that they're scared to play the pass forward or to run with the ball forward. It's that they're not looking up before they receive the ball to see what it is that they're playing the pass to. And I get that. I think there's truth in that as well. But I do. He's not going to come out and call them out.
No, he can't afford to.
And from a mentality point of view, okay, we get away with that with Russell Martin. He kept saying it was a mentality issue, and that just deflects from a tactical position. But I thought it was telling that he was quick to defend, to say that it wasn't mentality and that it was more a kind of, basically then the alternate option there is saying that it's not a mentality issue, it's actually an ability issue.
Which I would not disagree with, but he's obviously not going to come out and say that.
He's not going to say that either.
He spoke about it as well. He's saying how, I think he mentioned at half time, the Falkirk right back or right wing back at times was caught quite high up the pitch, trying to join attacks as he should be, but that then left space down this side, whether it was for Bayrami in the first half or Ant-Man Gassama kind of thing as it went on. But we don't exploit that because we're too busy trying to just make sure we keep the ball. Oh, I don't want to pass 10 yards in case I'll give it away. I'll just play my straightforward 5-yard pass. And I think there's a difference playing with maybe a guy like, Suter and Cornelius are not great. They have their flaws, absolutely. But at least they can carry the ball a little bit, maybe draw some into them, which then gets a bit of space going. Whereas, Jigger and Fernandez are your bog standard, no nonsense. I am just hoofing this ball away. And again, I'll touch on those two very quickly because I think they two were fine today. Again, the bar is very low across this pitch, but they two didn't do anything wrong. Daniel said it himself, the defence wasn't a problem today, but
Jigger had a howler. That 63 minute mark where he's passed the ball back to Butland and then Butland fails to clear it and then Jigger fails to clear it It was like something at a Benny Hill, but not half as funny. It was awful, and it comes away being the best chance of the game for either team, and a really, really poor advert for Scottish football when a team doesn't capitalise on such a mistake, A, being Falkirk, and B, that a team that is potentially challenging and going for a title can make such mistakes. There was no pressure.
No.
Like it was a simple 10-yard pass back to Butland, and Butland, all he has to do is flash it out and just get the boys back, get the system back in position and defend from that throw-in. I mean, just unnecessarily poor. But I do agree. I thought Fernandez was fine. Aaron's were critical because he doesn't have a left foot. Therefore, every single run he makes ends up being a turning in himself and a pass backwards. I thought Tav was fine. Didn't really do anything right. Didn't really do anything wrong. A couple of lovely balls into the box. But, I mean, see if you're this set-piece coach that's came in, you must be mortified that the best player who can hit a corner or a long free kick is Tav, because it's
that one at the death there that just
painful.
hoofs his foot right underneath it. Yeah.
Oh.
We just stolen that one. We'll come to the second half. I've got some notes, mainly about subs, to be honest. So nothing happens in that first 50 minutes, as you say. We then see Scott Arfield and Aguiman come on for Falkirk, and they scared us. Arfield's clever movement dropping off for then the pacey guy to come in and just run at us. We looked 6s and 7s that most of that second half, really, when they had the attacks going. And again, from our point of view, I don't have anything down, really. There was the one where Gassama cuts through, and just like Thursday night, could shoot first time on his stronger right foot. He cuts it back, and then he takes on his right foot, if I remember right, and just sort of passes it towards Scott Bain's goal. Never really threatens to go in. Again, I'll say the exact same as I said on Thursday night. A confident footballer hits that first time and drills it into the bottom corner.
Yeah.
Probably our best chance that I can recall. It was decent play from Raskin in the build-up, but beyond that, have I missed anything? Is there anything else attack-wise that we've done at all?
No, the Gassama shot is just a really weak cross. Like Scott Bain's saving that. Any keeper saving that every single day of the week. I had said to you at the time, I thought it's the sort of shot that you see somebody try at training when you're trying not to score against the keeper to get warm up the goalie, hit a few shots in. It's not in anywhere. He's got so much time to get in front of it and actually put his body. I mean, he parries it out, and then Bajrami puts that lazy leg out to even stop it from going from a corner, which makes even the opportunity of it even worse, because then you go, well, at least we've got a corner from it, and then you just see Bajrami stick a leg out and you go, oh, of course that's what you've done there. No, but after that, nothing. And then you're basing that on the fact that after that point, we then go on to make a further, 3 substitutes?
Yep.
And that's Diamande, Finlay Curtis, and Danilo come on, and they do nothing really. I mean, Gassama makes the chance early on, but I mean, Finlay Curtis didn't really have a chance to do.
He put one good cross in. I mean, he didn't have the ball in attacking areas much, and I'm kind of going to defend Curtis a little bit, because we all know he should have played a bit more this season. He should have come on sooner. Leo Cameron's in the exact same boat. I think I said this on Thursday, so I'm probably repeating myself, but what are those two guys doing in training, or what are they not doing that's seeing, Diamande come on or start more games than they two? Asgard is the main one. How is he playing games ahead of these guys when we know he isn't contributing a single thing to this team? Because
he's not getting paid tens of thousands of pounds a week to come and play for Rangers, and that seems to be the problem just now, is that we're playing players based off of how much they're getting paid per week rather than actual talent, because you can't tell me
effort
or any sort of credible asset that you could give to these players, because there is nothing that these guys are doing that would suggest that they should be playing next week. There's not a single player on that park that you couldn't swap out and say, right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Miovski and Chermiti they must just have a wee dance with each other before the games and go, right, who's here? Like rock, paper, scissors, who's starting today? Because it's no based off performance. I thought on Thursday night, Chermiti looked a bit better against Braga in that he was winning the ball in the air. Like that is how bad it is that we're saying of that.
He won some headers.
He won some headers at 6'7". That's magic, isn't it? Like, it's the bare minimum that you're asking. Miofsky really, really slow today. Kept getting the ball taken off him, and he's dropping into areas as if he's Harry Kane, expecting the ball to be passed to him to do a nice wee touch and involve other players. But he's so slow and turgid that the players just come in and wipe the ball off him. Then we lose the ball in the middle of the park, and then it forces the back four into actually stepping up and doing something. Whilst I said to you at times, it looked as if Falkirk had an extra man on the park, because when we're trying to play it through the middle, all the wingers are out wide, not looking for the ball. And then when we're playing the ball out wide, they'll come inside. We're scared to get on the ball. They're scared to look for the ball.
An extraordinary amount. I mean, I don't mean hiding in terms of like not asking for the ball, because I feel like you see them kind of like, oh, I'm here, pass. But it's when they've got a guy right on the backside, someone's marking them. They're kind of running out of space. I think Asgard, Ant-Man, Gassama are really bad for this. They go into spaces that are already full of either teammates or opposition players, where if you get the ball, you're having to do wonders and take it by 2 or 3 guys in tight spaces, which is never. These guys aren't good enough to do that. But then surely you move out wide where the space is so that you can receive the ball and drive at people, because these guys are fast. They're quite technically okay, I guess. They have ability. Why would you not try and help yourself to get into those spaces? I just don't get it from,
because they don't want it. That's what I'm, like. That's the problem. Is if I was playing against a player and I was of that, if I had that mindset, I would be saying, how can I look for the ball without actually getting any sort of chance of getting it? And it would be Miofsky asking for that ball over the top, 25 yards for goal, knowing that it's going to be an absolute inch perfect pass over the defender's head for him to get it, knowing that he's saying, well, I'm looking for it. You go, no, you're not really. There's no actual way that anybody... Unless
it's almost like you're trying to appease the fans. But look, I'm doing something. I'm doing my bit. But really, are you helping the team? Are you creating a chance? Are you moving into space to then occupy it for someone else to get space? It's very like... There's no selfless movement, if that makes sense. No, the way you see someone before, like... I don't know, Aribo, I think, was quite good for it. Ryan Jack was always kind of covering spaces to then give us an opportunity elsewhere. These kind of subtle things you maybe don't notice in-game. We don't have guys that are either clever enough to do that or selfless enough to do that, and it's very easy to defend against. We saw Livingston do it last week, and we got away with that just with a fluky goal's a little harsh, but just a one chance that we did manage to make today. We didn't make that chance, and I think we well said it around the 80th minute, 85th minute. Falkirk were pushing. If anyone was going to score, it was not going to be us.
I thought that Falkirk brought on some players who made a real difference. We spoke about Arfield, spoke about Agiman, who came on. And do you know what was worrying as well was, I had said to you for a laugh, thinking, it'd be sad if you were coming off the bench for Brian Graham, like that age, to be thinking, you must be thinking, you've got a lot of availability there that he's not going to be lasting the 90 minutes. But he comes on, and for a wee while there, they had no answer, because he was strong, he was quick, he was getting by because he was turning Fernandez and showing him a sign of pace. But then, like that, you've got Scott Arfield in there making wee touches and involving and breaking the lines, it's getting a second ball, being scrappy. And that's something that we talk about, the idea of somebody being selfless. That run that Arfield used to make every single game, where he just ran forward, knowing that if somebody passed it to him, great. But if not, he's dragging a defender out, allowing the striker to become more involved. We've not got anyone doing that. And I think it's because they just don't know how to play with each other. They've not...
How can that be, though, after November? That's 4 or 5 months. I know there's 2 managers in there, so it's different styles and things adapt. But you know what it's like? You play with someone at this amateur level where it's fives for a few times, okay, he likes taking it on that foot, he likes receiving the ball there, he likes running into space. These little things that if you're playing and training with each other day in, day out, that's got to come naturally by this point, surely.
Well, it's not coming from the manager, because when Danny Rule spoke to the media there, his response was that turning back, that lack of conviction is not a message. Obviously, the lack of conviction is not going to be a message that's coming from him, but he's saying that he's looking for intensity. He's looking for players to be a bit more creative and take the chance. And actually, what he had said was, when he went in and spoke to them at half-time, the response from some of the players was, well, what about what happens behind us? And he said to not let that be a factor in the decision-making going forward, to allow the back four to defend. If you make a mistake in that area, that's what they're there to do. So I do think it might not be a lack of confidence in their own ability so much as a lack of confidence in, well, that player behind me will mop it up if I make a mistake here,
Yep.
or even just the slight differences between what Martin had probably been saying to them to what Danny Rule had been saying, and what the demands are of a Danny Rule squad. But I mean, we've got to give that guy the checkbook, and just regardless of whether or not we have any faith that the transfers are going to be of any sort of improvement immediately. I mean, I don't think it would be hard to not it would be hard to not improve.
You do well
this
to buy
team.
6 players, put them in, and be worse. So,
but you've got to imagine that whether or not we have any sort of belief that, oh well, should we trust this guy with the money, it can't be any worse than what it is. And I would be sad to see after January some of these players get half as much game time because they're woeful. And even players who are coming on, you just think you should be coming on with a freshness, with a bit of grit about you to get stuck in. And Gassama did, to be fair. He was trying to get on the ball, and he was breaking, and he was running down the lines, and he was doing everything. Diamande was pitiful when he came on. Danilo blows hot and cold. Sometimes he's brilliant, and he just seems to have that wee spark that he can give him the ball in the right area, could get a goal.
It's guys who can't rely on to come on and get a goal, though, is it? There's never someone that's, maybe Curtis aside again, like bias. I like Curtis. I want him to play more, so I'm always going to defend him as I have already. But guys coming on, like your Diamande coming on with 10 minutes to go, needing a goal, what are you going to do?
No.
Again, he scored the winner last week. Maybe a little bit daft saying this, but he's not a goal scorer. He's not a creative guy. He's very much like for like with a Barron for me. You know, he'll maybe. I think the perfect example of what Diamande is that he turns a guy perfectly, centre of the pitch, a few minutes to go, turns him, driving, and just passes straight to the Falkirk left back. He's got options, he's got time, he's got space, and just gives it away. And just the collective feeling of sigh that goes through the stadium at that point, you know he's not going to kind of drag the game through and do something for you. And I think there's too many guys just like that, just are here, don't really care if you win or draw. No, move on. We'll go again next week, try again. It's never going to work.
No. And you score, 3 goals in the last 3 games? So you're immediately thinking, where are these goals ever going to come from? Because you're no, take Bragg out, obviously, but you're playing, Livingston?
It's 2 post teams
Falkirk.
in the league on paper pre-season anyway. Falkirk have had a good spell, and I said to you before this, they came here with confidence that we don't have right now. You could see them growing into the game, and John McGlynn, we were in his press conference as well, said it himself. He said how he was a little bit disappointed as they could have played better, bit of a missed opportunity, and they came here with nothing to fear. If that's a Falkirk side coming to Ibrox without any fear, it says a lot, doesn't it?
I get it. I definitely
right
get
to do that. Absolutely.
See that lack of fear, because you think, right, well, you would like to think that they're saying, right, well, we're Falkirk, we're not expected to come here and win, so on you go. But it wasn't a reckless performance. It wasn't as if they came out here and they were, we'll try this and we'll try that and we'll get beat 5-0. Well, it was a free hit. It was a calculated performance. They played really good football. The boy Tate in the middle of the park, 21, I'd put him down as probably the man of the match, because you couldn't pick a Rangers player for that. I thought that he dictated play really well. I thought nice wee turns in the middle of the park, opened up the game. The only problem is, like he had said in the press conference, was the demands of their players is that they're playing the pass forward and they've not got the quality there. We should have the quality there, because they are bringing up players from the Scottish Championship and they are playing better than players that we are buying and spending millions of pounds from the English Championship. So where are these scouting networks that we're referring to from other clubs? You know, you see these cross-country affiliations that people have where they're bringing players in and they're doing this. John McGlynn took a team from the Scottish Championship up and has got 2 points from 2 games against us, and we are spending millions of pounds on Championship duds. And it's sad, and it's more than sad. It's just frustrating, because it can't be that hard to come here and go, right, okay, he's actually quite good in that league and he scores quite a lot of goals. Should we buy him? Nah. Let's buy this guy struggling La Liga striker who had a flash of a good season at Aberdeen. We'll spend $3.5 million. What about the guy who scored 20 goals for you last year? No, get rid of him. No, he's hopeless. We'll spend $8 million plus on a striker from Everton who's not kicked his arse. And I know we can just keep going back and just make ourselves angry about it, but there's got to be a better transfer window because we are 9 points off top with a game in hand. We had a chance there to shorten that to 7 today, and we've bottled it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We obviously have to look at other scores. Celtic had a much tougher week than us on paper, and have came out a lot better. And I think the fixtures, we touched on it already. Looking at it here, we go to Dundee United Wednesday, which, I don't think they're in great form, but Tannadice is always a bit tricky. We then go to Rugby Park next Saturday night, 8 o'clock kickoff.
Stinking.
I said this to you earlier, I know your answer, but for content, we'll ask it. Can you see this Rangers team going to Rugby Park on a Saturday night kickoff? It's cold, it's miserable, that pitch, and even scoring a goal, let alone winning that game of football? Because I'd be shocked.
No, and I don't. When we played Kilmarnock here a few weeks ago, and me and you were covering the game, it was a different feel about the place because Danny Rule had just came in, and there was a bit of positivity. But also on that, you're thinking from that point till now, there just seems to have been that buzz is just kind of burnt out a wee bit, and I don't know whether or not it's a mentality thing of some of the players came in and said, right, we're going to get a fresh start, we're going to work hard, we're going to do this, and then he's basically been picking a very similar 11 to what Martin had. So maybe these players who thought they were going to get that chance, that opportunity, are sitting going, not much the same, not really keen to get the minutes. So actually I'm still looking on one eye out the door. He said that he says that he's now in his 7th week here, and he has a far better understanding of what the squad are capable of. And what he said to the question of, well, do you now see that some of the players are you losing your patience with some of these players, was the question. And he had said that he never loses his patience, but there's certainly going to be an issue in terms of selection because a lot of these players are playing themselves out of contention. I would argue I don't understand how some of the players are still in contention, but it makes you then wonder who does come in then and where do they come in? Because if you are, say, Lyle Cameron, and you've not been playing, and then all of a sudden you're getting thrown in when the chips are kind of down,
and you have to be great from the start,
you've got to be brilliant, or like Bajrami today, where it's like, yep, Gassama's not fully fit to start today. We need you to come on and commit some sort of performance, and then he does, and then Gassama comes on for him anyway. Like, you think, I would be thinking, right, well, hold the phone a wee minute. Like, I get that obviously maybe he's not been fresh enough to play the full 90. Totally appreciate that. But if Asgard is going to start, and it feels like a witch hunt in Asgard, and I'm not shying away from that either, but if he's going to be the starting player, then your next best player coming on can't be the player that's been dropped from being the starter. You can't keep doing that same thing where it's, no, you're going to start this week and then that guy will come on at 60 minutes. Oh, but next week it's going to be Danilo who's going to start, and then we'll bring on Asgard. Neither of them are good enough. Change it up. Put someone new in that mix of players. Chermiti's not been good enough. Miovski's not been good enough. And I get that there's a lack of options there, but I actually don't think there is a lack of options in terms of that 10 position, because you could play Diamande up there. You could drop Bajrami in to play as a 10. There's options. I'm not saying that they're particularly significantly better than what's there, but you've got to try something different, because that whole argument of, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It's broke. Somebody needs to come in and fix it. And I don't know whether or not it's another player or whether or not it's something tactical. He said earlier on that he was open to the idea of changing some sort of system. However, the problem then lies in that he could play with 3 at the back, but then when you're not creating enough up forward, what is the point in flooding the area with players who aren't doing enough? he's got a good answer for everything, because it's almost as if, without saying he's frustrated because some of the players don't have the technical ability to carry out the instructions that he wish he could actually give them.
Well, he said that himself, didn't he? He said about how this isn't how he wants to play or how he ideally would be playing. But I think he obviously understands that the squad doesn't suit what he wants, whether that's like high pressing, high tempo, aggressive, good football, we'll say, if you strip it right back. He knows this team can't do that.
No.
So I think personally Danny Rose went, right, I'll try and shoot up the defence, try and keep us harder to score against, which we have been. I think we've attacking wise maybe suffered even more, but we don't play that stupid little tappy football at the back, which doesn't lead anywhere. We don't concede as many chances as we had been under Russell Martin, certainly. So that side of it is better. It's just then that you would expect the players that are in attacking positions, whether it's the front four, whether it's the front three, however you're kind of angling that, they should be creating more, just naturally from being better footballers. I don't think you have to be coached to do certain things in terms of beating your man, in terms of wanting to get ahead in the ball, wanting to get into the box, wanting to press people. Just these absolute basics that these guys don't do. And I was writing, one of my rage tweets, my many rage tweets today, I started writing down what players haven't been doing good enough in terms of like Raskin, Diomande, Asgard, Ant-Man. I just wrote everyone's name basically. Just that team sheet got beside us. I basically listed that team sheet because every one of them needs to be doing better. I don't think I've seen a few people starting to question Danny Rowell and the substitutes he's making and some of the tactical decisions he's got, but his hands are absolutely tied behind his back and he's blindfolded and underwater at this point. He's got no chance.
Aye. You feel that it's almost as if the bubble of his positivity is almost a wee bit burst there, because I noticed the difference in that first time coming on here and doing the media duties, that difference from then and then today. It's almost as if people have been asking the question now for a few weeks of how long can you get away with playing so poorly and still picking up the points. And I actually think that this wasn't a performance that was significantly worse than any of the other games.
No.
The only difference was that we said it on the card journey up, was that Falkirk seemed to do well against teams that want to try and play football. And I suppose when you're trying to play football, the idea would be then that you're trying to create chances by playing the ball through the middle of the park and trying to get some sort of rotations and play in some triangles out on the left and out on the right and involving more players. I don't think Falkirk played great football. I don't think we played great football. From a neutral point of view, you would have rather sat in the telly and watched the couch, because it was nothing of any sort of substance. There was there was nothing that was like completely calamitous other than the Jigga Butland Benny Hill situation. But equally, there was nothing of any sort of value. There was nothing where you thought...
Did you ever get off your seat?
No. Many times to try and go up the road, but you told me that we had to do this, so I had to sit back down again. No, I thought that there was loads of times where there was a ball in the box and you thought to yourself, that's a great delivery, and then you go, oh, that's all right, because Miovski's in the middle of the park, so he's not going to actually get onto that. Or
he is the only one in the box, kind of the opposite problem, no one else is supporting, so 2-3 Falkirk defenders know who to mark, know who to stand in front of, stand behind. It has to be that inch perfect pass you spoke about before, which...
I've not even spoke about that one where the ball comes in and Asgard is literally 2 yards away from the goal and the ball hits off him and goes out on the opposite side from the post that he's standing at. Like, I mean, I know sometimes your luck's down and these things just don't go for you, but Jesus Christ, that's terrible.
It is. And really, we've kind of covered everything we can. It's been as negative as they always are these days. We're all kind of hoping January just comes and we're still in something. I think today's been a massive step back in any sort of title race, any title challenge we're ever going to put up. I never expected us to go into one properly with this squad, but how do we go forward here? We've got Dundee United on Wednesday night, as I touched on. Is there a lineup you could see that would excite you? Is there any player that could come in that could make you think, okay, we can win that game? Or do you just hope we stumble through it and win 1-0, 1-2-1 kind of thing?
I do want to see players like Finlay Curtis and stuff. I really, really do. But my problem with that is that then all the pressure kind of leans on them, and I wouldn't want it to be a sort of situation where, right, I suppose what I would rather see is players that should definitely not be playing. Like, Antman didn't do an awful lot today, right? And Antman hasn't done an awful lot since the first time he played. Gassama obviously has been probably the best of a terrible bunch of transfers. Therefore, I wouldn't want to take him out of the team. But Finlay Curtis has done nothing to not earn a spot. So I would like to see him play. He's not one that you're throwing in out the cold. He came on today. He has came on this season and bettered the team. Saved us a point at St Mirren.
At the very least, it's a bit of a kick up the arse of the guys who are playing week in, week out and getting another chance. I mean, we've touched on Asgard plenty there, but Diamande, for example, gets himself sent off Thursday night and then he does get on the pitch at some point. I wouldn't care if he just sat on the bench. Like, I didn't think he was going to do anything. Asgard, again, I just mentioned him, but why are you getting on ahead of a Cameron when you're just letting us down week after week? Raskin, again, is not going to come under... Oh, sorry, he's going to come under some scrutiny as well because, again, just didn't do anything to affect the game. And you think of the ability he has, you think of the player that we saw at the end of last season. That's not the same guy. That's the guy with one eye out the window that I'll keep saying. It's fact. Guys that just aren't doing it, then just get that second chance. And yeah,
I suppose that's the side of it that we don't see is Cameron going and rattling the door of the manager and saying, why am I not playing? He is hopeless. Like, or why am I not being given an opportunity? His performance levels haven't been high enough. What is it going to take for me to get on in a game? Never mind start a game, but when is it going? And this is Lyle Cameron we're talking about. It's not as if we're talking that we've got Diego Maradona or Lionel Messi or something on the bench. We're talking Lyle Cameron. We're not looking for much. We're just looking for a player who wants to play for Rangers come on for a player who doesn't.
Well, it's very like Fernandes. If I just jump over you there, Fernandes didn't get a sniff until the last few weeks because he's had to. He's been all right. I don't think he's done anything calamitously bad. I think he's been pretty solid, and you can see there's something there to work with if he polishes his game up. Right now, we don't know if Lyle Cameron is going to be good enough to be a Rangers player. We don't know if Finlay Curtis has the long-term ability to be a Rangers player. I can tell you a few who I don't think have that ability now because I've seen them enough. But before January, we need to know, right, who can we maybe not build a team around, but who is worth a spot in the squad week to week, month to month, long term here? Because there's certainly enough that aren't good enough, and we may as well just ship out at this point.
It's hard going knowing that normally in a team you would say you've got a starting 11 and you would maybe bring in a couple of positions to improve. It's now a difference of we are now ranking which position needs improved the most. Every single position that we've got, we should be able to attract better, or at least are we overthinking it? Are we naive? Should we be sitting saying, no, do you know what, that is the standard of player that we should be having? Because it can't possibly be. It can't be. You look at other clubs, not even them across the way. You look at other clubs and you would go, I'd take him at right back. I'd take him at left back. Or he's a good centre mid.
Yep.
That used to be minimal. There used to be, like, apart from that season where obviously Hibs had that team of players that everybody then wiped, whether it was us or them. Like, there's loads of players that we could say in the Scottish Premier League that he would be better up front for us, or he's a good winger. Why aren't we taking a punt on him? And
proof of that is that I would have rather Arfield was coming on for us today. And Arfield's like 39 or something. I would rather he was jogging on the pitch with 10 minutes to go than Diamande.
I think that's the loudest clap that we got today was when Arfield came on. In fact, it might have even been when Arfield was warming up.
Yeah, we're in good spirits back then. It was warming up. Got a decent ovation.
But it's brutal, and I think what I would say is that there's nobody in this team right now that at the end of the season you would be sitting saying, oh, they would make it into the team of the year. And the only person who probably
would be a miracle, to be honest.
But even how many times in years gone by have you looked at the team and thought, well, at least we've got the best centre mid in the league, or at least we've got the best left back, or at least we've got the best right winger. Nobody can touch him. We've got nobody. We've not. I mean, arguably Butland in goal was probably the best keeper in the league, arguably.
Yeah.
But then who's next? Like, there's Tav is probably the best right back in terms of numbers, like goals and assists and everything else. But defensively, no. and I'm sure that there will be other players that are better going forward than him. And then, as you say, like, it's just not enough quality on the pitch that would then make you feel happy past January. I mean, you look at the run of fixtures that we've got in January, and we're playing Aberdeen back to back. We've got our game in Europe.
Yep.
And then we're playing them. Obviously, before that, we're playing them. So
Hearts and Hibs on the back of each other as well, just
I
before
mean,
Christmas. That'll be fun.
You think Danny Rule coming in couldn't have probably got a better run of fixtures bar Braga and Bran, which was obviously a disaster, and he was only 2 minutes in the door. But you think of the run of fixtures that he's going to have after January, even with a good January transfer window, there's going to be a bit of fractiousness in the team, knowing that players could be going, players could be staying. Where are they going to go? Players will come in, they'll have to bed in very quickly. There's going to be a really tight turnaround in terms of players coming on and acting quick, because you lose against Aberdeen, either of those games, and then a defeat in the New Year's Day or the 3rd of January game, who you're basically signing players to come in and make the club better for what? Like for next year, because it's not to compete in a league. We're already out pretty much.
Scottish Cup at best at that point, really. I mean, even then, it's a shootout. So
it's really poor. I'm really worried, because I think that people have said that this is going to be the most active Scottish transfer window that they've seen in a very long time. I worry that we're in that bad of a situation that clubs are just going to start adding on zeros because they know how desperate that we are, and they'll be saying they'll pay the dosh because they're in free fall just now. And that might seem harsh because we're just coming away from a draw. It's not as if we've got smacked about. It's not as if it was a terrible result. But
it was a must-win for me, but it was a must-win.
It's the most must-win game that you can think of. Like Sunday afternoon against Falkirk at home. Like this,
it's like grit your teeth, get through it, and win 1-0, 2-0. Doesn't matter how. Same as last weekend. Horrible performance, lucky in the end, but you win. Doesn't matter. It's just that massive step back.
And seeing that comment there, Falkirk probably have a fifth of the budget. I think a fifth's being generous.
Yeah,
they probably have a tenth of the budget.
Right. Well, we've rambled on enough. I want to go home. I wanted to go home 5 minutes into this game. I'm now able to go home. So thanks for joining us. It's been fun. Again, any like and subscribe. I'm trying to get through it.
Has it been fun?
Any like and subscribe is always very welcome. We'll be back on Tuesday night to dissect this enough. I'm going to do my best to make sure I'm not on that show. And again, we'll be back for the Dundee United post-match, where hopefully we are slightly happier, which is a very low bar right now. But thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time. Cheers.